Hello, everybody. Today is February 3rd, and today is a weird day in our sorting. You may have noticed Monday, or Tuesday, I guess, we did 3 sections. Today is only one, and it's business. Just all business, all day. Sorry.
Business in the front and in the back.
And in the back.
Of course, the big story is the GameStop thing. So if you've been under a rock, there were some people, and did it start out as activism, or was people just trying to get money? I don't really know the origins.
I think it was people literally just trying to get money because they noticed that people were trying to short it. And then they were like, no, buy it and then just hold it.
These are the most shorted stocks. So
yeah.
These are stocks that people think probably really nothing going on here. It's safe to short because really, what is GameStop's future?
All the consoles are digital. It's not a good situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's really no reason to go. And especially with the current,
there's
disease situation.
Picard over there, that was originally a ThinkGeek commission. The face-palming Picard.
What's that got to do with GameStop?
They own it.
Oh.
I thought ThinkGeek went out of business.
No, ThinkGeek is owned by GameStop.
Oh.
Doesn't make me any more likely to visit a GameStop, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
But anyway, they chose some of the most shorted stocks. They saw how much short exposure there was. Now, the Melvin Capital, the hedge fund that got blown up by this, they were unique because they over-reported. And it was public knowledge how much short they had on GameStop.
Yeah.
They weren't even one of the worst hedge funds in terms of destroying capitalism. But they were open about it, a little too open, and some Reddit users got onto that. And I'm not adding it. This is a huge line of stories. So fast forward after insanity takes hold of Reddit and everybody else, and they start just buying these ridiculously crappy stocks.
GameStop goes from $6 to over $100.
Oh, 350.
Yeah.
Well,
it's lingering around 300 as of this recording.
I think it might have spiked above
420, yeah.
I did, yeah. This morning.
But when we knew something insane was happening was when GameStop stock went from like 6 to 100. And it was for a while it was less than $1, which you get delisted for that.
So what happens is you get what's called a short squeeze. Now, when you short a stock, you borrow it and you sell it to buy it back at a future date and give it back to whoever you borrowed it from. And when it starts to skyrocket through the roof, sometimes you don't have any choice but to sell it so that you have to have some liquidity so you can get stopped out. That buying feeds into the loop and it just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. Yeah. And so eventually the big brokers freaked out and
Robinhood blocks purchases of GameStop, AMC, and others after days of Reddit-fueled rallies.
Followed shortly by
GameStop and AMC trading restricted by TD Ameritrade, Schwab, Robinhood, and others. Now, it looks like, if you look at the numbers here, it looks like, when you were talking about it's like you have to buy it at a future date, it looked like those hedge funds were the ones that were actually driving the price so insanely high because you literally couldn't buy it. And so when Robinhood and stuff put a stop to being able to buy it, the people that had bought it on margin, which this is in the Robinhood terms of service, Robinhood automatically sold it, I guess. You could only buy it if you actually had the capital in your account to cover it. And the reason that Robinhood did that was because it would free up more in the market for these things to be able to buy it.
Also because one of their major revenue sources, the hedge funds,
40%,
stopped sending the money because they were going out of business at a rapid rate.
It doesn't seem like Melvin Capital is going to recover.
The other thing is, I haven't checked it today, but when you can't borrow a stock for free. So if you short a stock, you have to borrow it, but that's not free. You pay usually a fairly small amount. So let's say, blue chip like Coca-Cola, 0.25% per annum to borrow to short. That's not that big a deal, right? As of, I guess, Wednesday, GameStop, 32% per year to borrow.
To short.
So who can, It's almost impossible at that point.
I watched some of the coverage of this, and I really like the people, the hedge fund managers and the people that they had on TV couldn't have been more transparent with their motivations. They were like, we had to stop trading to stop the losses, and it's like, to stop whose losses? Because the retail traders are making a lot of money here. The hedge funds are losing money. So if you're saying that you had to stop trading to stop the hedge funds from losing money, that's anti-competitive, and they're going to be in trouble for that.
There was another guy who like went on the television and was talking, and he was like, "This is just an attack on the wealthy," and I was like, "Wow, that is dramatically transparent."
But there's a rich history of hedge funds doing exactly this kind of thing to one another.
Yes.
And I'll point out, if you want to do a little reading about this, the Herbalife. Do you say Herbalife or Herbalife?
I always say Herbalife.
I think it's
Herbalife, right? I used to get made fun of for saying herb, so it's herb.
Herbalife was basically a pyramid scheme. It's multi-level marketing, but they're publicly traded. And so Bill Ackman and Carl Icahn, I don't know how it's pronounced.
The guy that messed up HP.
They had a giant war with Herbalife as the proxy, and $1 billion changed hands during all that. And there was massive short squeezes, and there was all sorts of mudslinging and accusations of fraud. It was way nastier than this, but it was two established players. So everybody was like, "Oh, get the popcorn." And then, the retail traders do it, and it blows up.
Now,
Remind
me what there's a big investigation too, a big federal investigation. Remind me what the results of that investigation was with the Herbalife thing.
Not a pyramid scheme. 2016, the federal government confirmed Herbalife is not a pyramid scheme. So the bull won. It cost the other guy $1 billion. If you woke up Thursday morning you were just filled with excitement. It was 9:25 and you were sitting there and you're white knuckled sitting at your desk. You can't wait to start buying again. You found out something very disturbing.
Robinhood hit with a class action after blocking GameStop trades. Robinhood purposefully, willfully, and knowingly removed the stock GME from its trading platform in the midst of an unprecedented stock, thereby deprived retail investors. So not just buying on margin. Like, I could kind of understand buying on margin, but even if you had the capital in your account to cover buying it outright, you could not.
Yep. And you could close positions, but you couldn't open positions. Now, which way does that affect the stock price?
Oh, no.
So if you were a fairly new retail trader and you just caught up in the frenzy of all this, and the exuberance carried you through the week, but then you got to Thursday and you're like, oh, it's going down. I'm losing money.
Somebody's wrecking my stuff.
But I could sell. And so then that creates a kind of a feedback loop.
Yeah.
They turned it back on Friday.
Those sales are what had to fuel, like the hedge funds, that's what they had to buy. There weren't any stocks to borrow. Like, there was literally no stocks available to borrow until they did this.
They're dark pooling that stuff.
Yeah.
They don't want anything on the. Of course, it'll still be hard to get. And so now, here we are on Friday. We're filming this on Friday, and it's kind of just floating around. There is one amazing thing about, and it doesn't just affect the stock market, it affects everything, like sports, for example. I don't know if we're not big sports people, but I've watched enough sports to know, like, if there's a minute left in the game, just keep calling timeouts if the other team's ahead, because you can destroy that momentum. And Thursday absolutely destroyed the momentum in this movement. We'll see where it goes from here.
I also think there's a little bit of a meta game going on here, that the people that got in early on the Reddit and social media side, I think a lot of them have used this to manipulate the situation. And so, like, there's almost like two factions on the retail investor side, like the people at the beginning and the people that are in now, which maybe have less noble intentions.
So are you saying that a group of people pumped the price with the intention of then dumping the price?
Yeah.
Someone should have thought about that before. And it wasn't just the the financial world that sort of rallied together to try to destroy these terrorists. Other tech companies helped.
Discord bans the /r WallStreetBets server, but new ones have sprung to life. Now, Discord said this was for terms of service violations, threats of violence and all this other kind of stuff. Briefly, WallStreetBets was also shut down on Reddit, but that was so the moderators could get everything under control so they wouldn't get banned. So,
it's also important to cover it quickly. And you need to read about this. There's so much more to it, but Robinhood makes a lot of their money. It's kind of like social media. You're not the customer. You're the product, or at least your trades are the product. They sell your trading data to, guess who?
The hedge funds.
The hedge funds. One of their biggest customers was Citadel, the hedge fund. Citadel got crushed by this. They had a huge GameStop short. And a lot of people are like, dude, there's too much coincidence here. This is 40% of your income, and you protected it. And they're like, no. This was about our customers. Although they did draw down nearly, I think, $1 billion worth of credit. So it might have just been they were in financial trouble.
Yeah.
Which should worry you if all of your gains from all this are in Robinhood, who might have a liquidity problem and might not be making a lot of money from the hedge funds going forward.
Either way, I'm just enjoying watching them all scramble.
Well, maybe this is finally going to lead to some much-needed high-frequency trading regulation.
Oh, sure, yeah. And what can you do? You were powerless. You wake up and your broker has turned off the stocks that you want. You're helpless.
You're not allowed to buy this thing that you want to buy. That doesn't sound very capitalistic.
In a free market. Free. But
yeah.
some people...
Oh, the Boiler Snake is super
Boiler
pissed.
Snake got in early.
Yeah.
He was super upset on Thursday. But what could you do? They were trying to lash out any way that they could, but you know what? When the big tech titans are in charge, that also not allowed.
Google has salvaged Robinhood's one-star rating by deleting nearly 100,000 negative reviews. A lot of Robinhood users were upset. They one-star bombed it, and Google's like, no, that's not okay. And it's like, is it though? Again, free market.
Is warning other users that this financial company won't let you buy and sell the stocks that you want not a legitimate review?
That is very much like, I can see why sometimes, they have to be cautious with that kind of thing, where it's like, sometimes people just one-star bomb it for no reason, but like, that's very legit. There was a problem with the service. It wasn't anything else. It should be one-star bombed.
We are on fire.
Also, it was crashing constantly during all of this.
Yeah, you were bitching about that right before we started.
That website's made of paper mache. So there's other reasons to give it a one-star review. But anyway, it's going to be interesting to see what happens next week. A lot of people are saying this is a new kind of activism. I think some people actually reoccupied Wall Street.
Really?
Not a lot. Yeah, not a lot of them, but it's kind of like it's revising that whole.
I did notice that on social media that a lot of people had posted pictures. Remember from like the last Occupy Wall Street, how there was all the protesters, and then there were like the wealthy people up on the balconies that had like the champagne
pouring
and
their
stuff.
champagne out on them. Yeah.
Oh, the 4chan meme. The Pepe memes about this are so good. So amazing.
It's a good time to be in the meme market.
The meme economy.
Who knows what it'll be like next week? Like by the time this comes out on, I guess it'll be Wednesday next week, the whole situation could have changed dramatically again. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
I don't know if they've got it in them to do another big push. It seems to be waning, although it's not crashing, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Like, is there any chance any of these companies maintain this value?
No, not over the long term.
I mean, GameStop is garbage. It's a garbage company.
I bet there's a manager somewhere that got like, 0.5% of stock as like stock options.
So if you go just Google insider trading and the ticker, you can look at their insider trading. Somebody sold 90,000 shares on the 15th.
Oh no.
One of the insiders.
Oh no. I'm so sorry, random person. I'm so sorry.
It's a tough day. That's a tough day. Several $1 million left on the table there. Whew. Well, moving on to less exciting news, and this product is very unexciting, but it's important to point out because about a year ago, Intel stepped up and said, we're getting into discrete graphics. The freshman effort, not a blockbuster, but hey, they did it.
Intel Iris Xe graphics cards now shipping to OEMs. DG1 lands in desktops. It's 25 watts. On paper, it looks a little better than the built-in Xe graphics in 11th gen CPUs. And it's probably quite a bit better because it's on a PCI card as opposed to being built into the CPU. I'm trying to get my hands on one. I'm trying to figure out if it'll support things like GVTG, which is like Intel's version of SR-IOV. So maybe we could have VMs that share a graphics card with this. I really want to test that or build the software to do that.
It's fanless. It could be good for like home media or something.
Well, 25 watts. I mean,
and I think this is the product. I've never been super good at first-person shooters, but age has definitely taken what little I had. But I think this is the product that's going to bring me back, just like I was in my 20s.
Razer's new Viper 8K promises the fastest performance of any gaming mouse. It's 8,000 hertz, 8 kilohertz polling rate. That's the 8K. It's not pixels. It's polling rate. So
8,000 times per second it will report back to the computer.
I really want to see how they actually do this, because technically USB's data rate is supposed to be 1 kilohertz.
Well, the tester at The Verge claimed that they tested this with software, and they were only able to get to 4,500. But they weren't sure that they were capable of moving their arm fast enough to like actually max out the mouse.
Interesting.
I thought you were going to say the guy at The Verge played it and then went from plat to grandmaster in a weekend. That's how incredible this mouse is.
I didn't
completely change the game.
What do you think is more taxing for mouse polling rate? A game like StarCraft 2 or a game like Counter-Strike?
Probably Counter-Strike.
Yeah, I would think so.
Precision, certainly.
Yeah.
More important there. And if you're looking for a new gaming PC, but you want the most expensive gaming PC money can buy, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking it's that Mac, that $50,000 Mac. But no, there's a new one.
Tesla's new cars can run The Witcher 3 on their 10 teraflop gaming rigs. Well, not really. It's not exactly 10 teraflops, but this is, again, Elon Musk has a single tweet that's turned into a story.
Wow.
They did show it running Witcher 3 on the promotional video. We don't know exactly what hardware is in there, though. I assume it's got to be some kind of discrete graphics, right? Do we have anything integrated that can run Witcher 3 at this point?
No, not really. Well, I mean, Intel would say the XE graphics, but there's reasonable graphics processing in, a Tesla, obviously. But yeah.
But the screen isn't big.
No.
And what is it, 17 inches? Something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
And I guess the seating is comfortable, but I just can't see gaming in my car.
Just why? Well, and then he mentions, too, you can already watch the show on Tesla and Netflix Theater. And it's like, why would I watch a TV show in my car?
Let's just do a whole Witcher weekend in the garage. So exciting.
You should really get into, the van life stuff, right?
Tesla glamping.
Luxury vans.
I guess an electric van would make van life super easy, right? Because your battery system is one of the biggest things.
Yeah. Why hasn't he done that? It seems like that would be a great intersection. Millennials love living in vans.
Because it's too expensive, right?
Cybertruck upgrade.
Probably.
Yeah.
He could go all, what was the, I can't remember the book about the guy that was driving around with the truck that had the camper on the back. Oh, it's a famous one. I can't remember.
One of my favorite things to watch on YouTube now is super high-end RV reviews.
I watched a few after you sent me that one where the guy was like, let me show you all the storage, and he opens the thing up and he's like, here's the septic recycling system, and I'm sorry, it's like, what?
And some of them, some of the really, really nice, the Class C ones, have cars in them.
Like it just pops out from the
got a little
bottom.
ramp in the back, yeah.
Wow.
It's it seems like if you have that much money, where are you RVing to? Why would you just fly to your home that's out there? This when we think about this headline, I want you to, before you think about this headline, I want you to think back. Was it 3 weeks ago?
3 weeks ago, yeah.
When we found out that GM had partnered with a company that was 100% fraudulent to make an electric car. And I was like, wow, GM, you really didn't do your homework there, did you? And then we see this.
Navistar, GM, and 1H2 combined forces for long-haul hydrogen electric trucks. I saw this and I was like, "What is GM thinking?" Since the Nikola partnership evaporated, they'd announced other partnerships as well, and it's like this is new. So GM really seems to be taking the shotgun approach to partnering with anybody that might do electric. But they have the impression of, a senile old man that's just like, yeah, that sounds good. I've got a lot of money. Let's just do that. They're just hoping one of these pays off.
Now, this is not the same kind of electric as Tesla. These are hydrogen fuel. Oh, I thought they had a picture of the...
Yeah, but the hydrogen fuel it's not an electric exactly. It's still combustion, but it's hydrogen.
Look, there should be an image here. Here's a peek at GM's... Why? Why, CNET?
Why is it broken?
There it is.
Yeah.
So that's your hydrogen cell, and that's going to provide your power for these trucks. And they're looking to have the whole ecosystem of refueling that and delivering them and keeping the whole thing running.
X'd out.
We'll see. Now, Krista, I was trying to find a story about this that had better images. It seems like it was only the video. Did you watch the video?
There's some images in this, but they're very small. No, I did not watch the video.
I watched the video.
It does look it looks a lot like, remember when Disney did the Land of the Future? Mm-hmm. And it was like kind of futuristic.
So do you remember the story that we did on the regulation that Elon Musk ran into, like the regulation problems?
The fire codes and stuff?
Yeah, he did a nice web page that had diagrams and pictures and mock-ups and stuff of like all the stuff that he had to do. And he's like, this is the code. This is what we have to comply with in order to do that. That was all I saw when I was watching this. And there's part of it when the little Hyperloop tubes get to the end of the station and it like goes underground under a beach. None of that will comply with any of that code. Literally none of it.
But look how clean and white.
Look how cool it is, though.
Yeah, it was super clean. But all those people are going to die if it stops for some reason.
But they're going to be enjoying their surroundings so much as they die.
I do notice that, so I found the video and I'm now scrolling through it, that the tops of these little compartments all have like glass. So you have like a skylight, but you're in a tube. So
that is a solar cell, Krista.
Well, that's...
Oh, it looks like glass.
What we're talking about. What? No one knows what we're talking about yet.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they can't see. Oh.
Virgin Hyperloop unveils passenger experience vision, but somebody that has an idea of what the building codes are was not involved in planning this. True to typical ad agency planning fashion, nobody actually figured out what sort of real physical requirements this thing is going to have.
Also, the Hyperloop pod, I thought we weren't doing pods. I thought we were doing...
No, this is Virgin Hyperloop. So the Musk...
Oh, I totally
the Musk Boring Company loop is not large enough to do that kind of loop. And in order to do larger boreholes, they would have to have different tooling, which is more complicated. This video, it's really amazing. It looks awesome. But the problem is that there is no way that this is even remotely compliant with the safety protocols that Tesla already ran into.
Are you sure that's not a skylight in the passenger cabin? Because it looks like...
Well, there's no sky.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm confused by it. But when it moves, it changes color.
Maybe it is transparent there, but there's in the close-ups in the video, it's definitely solar cells on a lot of the track.
Huh. Have you ever seen
on
those,
the inside?
Outside.
Like the bunkers?
No, it's on the inside that has this like ceiling thing.
Yeah.
Continue. Sorry, what?
Chris, it's an underground tube.
I know, that's why I think it's weird, but it looks like on the inside.
It's not underground the entire time, but yeah.
The bunkers do an amazing job with LEDs to simulate windows
sunlight
and stuff like that. Yeah, and some of them even have...
That might be what that ceiling thing is then.
They even have like moving patterns of tree branches casting shadows.
Oh yeah, some of the airports have that.
Yeah. So they can do really impressive stuff with simulating windows and stuff like that. Yeah, in my mind, totally made this Boring Company, but this is Virgin. I'm thinking, this is a really nice looking place, but like these curved columns over here, how do you think those will be when they're covered with the urine and feces of the homeless?
That's the genius here. Those are shaped from preformed concrete. We just come in with a pressure washer and just...
Also, there's like no ads in this space, so that's not realistic.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, that's going to be covered with digital displays.
Yeah. Again, this is an agency was tasked with imagine the thing of the future, and they're like, all right, but they didn't actually look at what the building requirements are at all.
Now, when it comes to the most shorted names on the stock market, we've heard a lot about those. And one big question in my mind is, why was this company not in that list? Because they really belong there.
AT&T is eating a $15.5 billion impairment charge as DirecTV debacle continues. Man, we really called it. When AT&T was buying DirecTV, we gave them hell, and we were right.
And they're not just getting killed in the TV business; they're also getting killed in the internet provider. This is a dead company walking.
They really have no clue.
Yeah, you know what?
I like the little headline up here. It says it keeps getting worse.
It's going to continue to keep getting worse.
Yeah.
We're going to see where rock bottom is exactly. And we're all going to be surprised at where rock bottom is, because Lord knows they're not doing any maintenance on their copper telephone network, and there's not enough fiber here, so they're just going to stop working one day.
Over 500,000 subscribers in that last quarter they lost.
You think it'll be like a millennial where they just ghost, like one day they're just
gone.
Yeah, their phone lines just don't work anymore, and it's like, well, my phone line's still working, but they're just not responding.
No, I think they'll sell it off. Cut it up into pieces.
Yeah.
Might be a good chance to get some office furniture.
Ooh.
For the offices that nobody uses. Well, we talked about the European Union and the big tech companies and them just kind of getting in line. Like Apple, for example. They're like, oh, Apple lied about the battery. All right, everybody queue up, and we're going to extract money from Apple. And Apple deserves it. They did a bad thing.
Yeah.
You know who else did a bad thing? And it's going to
Nintendo.
get the exact same treatment.
Nintendo was sued by European gamers because of the Joy-Con joystick things. This mechanism is cheap and crappy, and Nintendo knows it, and they won't fix it properly. So I hope they get their butt handed to them.
I think a replacement pair of those is really expensive.
Yeah.
Compared to the cost of the unit.
That's because Nintendo is crazy about market controls.
They mentioned in their testing 88%. I think it was 88%. It was over 80% of those Joy-Cons failed. Oh, we got the paywall.
Well, it wasn't that they have failed, that they will experience the issue sometime within a 3-year period
but
with
drift,
normal use. Yeah.
Is drift not failure for a controller?
Yeah.
It makes like if that's the stick that controls the camera in a third-person game,
oh yeah,
that's broken.
Yeah.
There's no coming out of that. Google and Apple have been having their little spat, and Google has still not updated the apps, right?
They were supposed to update it last week. I don't think they did.
I don't think so. No, because
I don't think so either.
Well, this was on the 27th when he made these statements. So Google finally has ended their silence about this, and this is political.
Yeah.
They didn't really say much, but if you read between the lines,
Google spells out consequences of Apple's privacy push and the IDFA changes. Now, they did say that Google has made sweeping changes to their app in a couple of ways to avoid some of the prompts.
But I don't think it's genuinely trying to not track. I think it's just moving the shells around.
Yeah, and I think this leads into the story that we'll have later about the black box tracking. Because Google's trying to figure out a way to do the same kind of tracking using artificial intelligence and like cohort tracking, where they're not tracking you as an individual, they're tracking you in a group of other people that are like you. And so when most of you do something, then they have that behavior and they can sell ad space that way, which is maybe a little better.
But isn't that just another line on the nutrition facts thing?
It sounds like the same sort of thing with more steps.
Yeah, they're rephrasing the question, and I don't think Apple is going to fall for that. I think they're going to just add more information, say, oh, they're doing this now. And speaking of office furniture, we talked about when AT&T goes, when a big company goes out of business, it's time to buy their furniture and their equipment and stuff. And but perhaps, well, I guess actually it could be a good time to do that, since maybe the competition won't be there bidding for those same things.
Just 1 in 10 companies expect all employees to return to the office. When you spend more of your waking hours with your colleagues than you do with your family, a lot of people are ready to go back to the office once it's safe.
Definitely seems like we're entering into a new normal in terms of all that. Sitting at home, doing your job, selling stocks.
I definitely think that something like a 4-day work week could work, because I mean, it depends on what you do, but it's like, yeah, you'll earn a little bit less money with a 4-day work week, but you'll probably have a much better quality of life.
But that's going to create, and I don't know if this is a terrible thing, but that's going to create a huge dividing line in the country where you're going to have people who can have 4-day jobs and people who work like fast food and retail and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a real divide. But it's like, oh, hey, Friday we're going to go down to the museum. And they're like, oh.
I've got a shift. I can't. It's kind of already like that with Amazon and stuff.
It is like that because I have some friends who work those kind of jobs, and like it is hard to find a weekend where like all of us have time off at the same time.
Well, Kristen, maybe you should find better friends.
I like my friends.
No. It's not like the whole like classism thing. It's like, oh no, we can't hang out with her. She can never work or hang out with us on Saturdays because she's a filthy pleb.
The caste system. Yeah. We need a caste system. But I mean, look, the two of us, you can't accuse us of that because we hang out with Krista and she rents.
Yeah, I do currently rent. Hopefully not much longer. By the time you guys are watching this, my home inspection will have come back and then I'll know. The second home inspection.
You shouldn't say that, Krista. You're setting it up.
I know. I'm really excited. I shouldn't be excited, but I am.
Well, Krista,
I'm going to have a great new home office.
Even if you don't have a new home or a new home office, you could still take a really nice vacation for about the same amount that you're paying for that house.
Axiom names first private crew paying $55 million for a trip to the ISS. It's a $55 million for an orbital vacation. Now
that's the first round, but they are hoping to get it down to, what was it, 35 grand? I think. Yeah, 35 grand per night. Eventually, they hope, will be the price for one night on the space station and the trip back and forth.
That just
seems low.
It's just a down payment on a house. That's fine.
I mean, it seems low, but at the same time, I can think of so many other things that 35 grand would be. And it's like not even stuff for me. It's like, there's a lot of suffering on planet Earth that could be alleviated by $55 million.
There's a lot of suffering on planet Earth that you could leave behind and go visit space.
You could buy like 1,000 shares of GameStop for that.
Or like 2 Bitcoins.
Not just one. So yeah, if you want to go into space, I guess start saving up. You think there's a meal on that flight?
Yeah.
Is it if it's not astronaut ice cream, I'm not interested.
That stuff's nasty.
It is kind of weird. But I always ate it every time I went to a museum.
Yeah, it was really chalky, but then after it was in your mouth for a little while, it was like, oh, that's just ice cream.
It does taste like ice cream,
But there was no reason to go through that first part.
Yeah.
Just get some ice cream.
It only becomes ice cream when it literally sucks the moisture from your body, which is not a great thing.
Well, if you remember the old I'm a Mac and I'm a PC commercial, well, Microsoft hasn't forgotten it. They've been bitter about it ever since, and they do things like this.
Microsoft mocks Apple's doomed touch bar and new Surface ad. Of course, all Apple has to do is respond with their 5-watt processor. Their 5-watt processors mocking the molten slag from Intel that's in the Surface.
So the joke here is this kid is like, oh, they gave me this little tiny touch thing, but this one over here has a whole touch screen. So they're trying to, put down the Mac because it doesn't have a touch screen.
Well, you can't touch the screen on a Mac because your filthy, greasy fingerprints.
Either way, my internet is too terrible at my house to do my online schoolwork. And then he just smiles at the camera and is like, help me.
That's because AT&T is busy worrying about hemorrhaging its losses from the DirecTV thing instead of upgrading their infrastructure.
So yeah, if you want a touchscreen, don't go Mac. Yeah. It's interesting that all the games that I remember playing in high school on emulators are now selling for big money. It's like we've forgotten that that's a thing that's free. But this new service is one that goes even further back than any of them have before.
Plex Arcade is a retro video game streaming service, but that excludes Linux users. So you can play really old arcade games, kind of, sort of.
Just Atari right now. and just I guess the 2600 era stuff.
Yeah.
Which is really one of the first generations of gaming. I remember this ninja game. I can't remember what the name of it was. These games were so brutal. Also, the new gamepad. I don't know. Wouldn't you rather have the paddle?
The paddle would probably make more sense, but
No, it definitely doesn't as a controller. But we're going for nostalgia here, right?
Yeah, if you want to go for max nostalgia and really get people to buy it, because then you could have that paddle out, on your coffee table, and people could ask about it. It's like having a nice coffee table book.
the first time I ever experienced Atari, one of the paddles was broken. It was always like going to the left or something, and I thought that was part of the gameplay mechanic.
Oh, it's like Nintendo.
Yeah.
That's not a new problem. In the ensuing 50 years, they haven't figured that out. Well, the whole Apple, this is their lawsuit with, is it Facebook or Epic? Oh yeah, Apple and Epic. How could I forget that? Apple and Epic are having their big lawsuit. With the lawsuit, you get discovery, which means that you can go and say something like, hey, I want to see all the internal emails about your pricing policy for the App Store. And they have to give you those. There's some interesting stuff in that.
Apple execs discussed, quote, not leaving money on the table when setting Apple TV subscription fees. 40% is probably a little too much. 30% was just about right. But was it 30% of the initial cost or 30% of the ongoing? 30% ongoing fees, obviously.
So it could have easily been just 30%. They could have left it at that. But these emails, you can follow along as they were like, I think the market could bear ongoing 30%. I think that's what we should do. And they basically did.
I think ultimately these emails are going to force Apple to open up and allow third-party app stores. I think the most logical conclusion of all this is that Apple gets to do things exactly however they want with their own app store, but Epic will be permitted to have an app store of their own. Google probably also as well.
Kind of like streaming services?
Yeah, kind of like streaming services.
And then we'll all end up paying more.
Yep. Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe.
And Apple, during all this, may be trying to squeeze a little extra money out of the consumer. Because if you track the average price of everything they have on offer in terms of iPhones, never been higher.
Average U.S. iPhone price hits a record $873. Who is spending upwards of 2% of their income on a phone? Well, that's basically an annual purchase, right?
Who's
Is that an annual? Who buys a phone every year?
No, who has 2% of their income being $800?
Everybody that's I figured you buy a phone every 2 years, and so like you make less than $50K a year. That's a significant part of your income.
You think it's every 2 years though? I think a lot of people buy them every year.
I run mine into the ground until the battery starts to blow up.
I don't know how long I kept my last one, but I went through more than one cycle of the telecom being willing to do an upgrade.
I replaced the battery in that iPhone 6. It runs like a champ. And a Galaxy S9. So for our wall of phones, I've got a Galaxy S9 with a brand new battery, and it runs like a brand new phone. It's incredible. I think Samsung slows them down like Apple does.
Oh, almost certainly.
Well, Apple, they're definitely having a problem with Google, or Google's having a problem with Apple. I guess it depends on which way you look at it. And Google, I think Google and Facebook are sort of at a precipice. They must decide, do we stick with what we've been doing and do we fight this out, or do we try to change things? And then the question becomes, how do you do that?
Google says that it may have found a privacy-friendly substitute to cookies. It's using machine learning and in-dimensional analysis to put you in a group of people that have similar interests as yours. And supposedly this is all done client side, and then they just say, oh yeah, we've got another number 37 here. Can I get some ads that are suitable for a profile type number 37? When in fact that number is probably in the tens of thousands, if not millions. It's how many other people are in your group? 2? 100?
But when we're thinking about client-side AI stuff, now we're getting into, well, first of all, if this is on mobile, the battery.
Yeah.
That's costing you battery life.
Well, it's not going to cost you fat battery on the iPhone because it's got the neural engine that Android doesn't have.
It's definitely still going to cost you battery. You can't do that without using electricity. That's what comes out of the battery. But at the same time, also bandwidth and just, I mean, let's say that you were letting Google do their black box, and at the same time, on another machine, you were mining Monero. Monero's going to use more, but Google is still using resources that could go to something else.
Yeah.
Right.
It's possible, I guess.
And they're doing it for something that benefits you not at all.
No. Well, Google would say that the benefit to you is that the internet remains free and open and ads supported.
Oh, and you see ads that are important to you. Yeah.
No ads are important to me.
That's untrue.
Krista, that's going to be clipped using YouTube's new clipping feature.
Oh, did they steal that from Twitch? I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, it's on select channels now.
How does it publish the clip?
You just, select a part of it and just let it do it, and it does it.
But, I mean,
Yeah,
does
just like-
that get posted as another video?
I don't know.
There's probably going to be a tab on channels that have it, and it's like user submitted clips. Just like
you know
Twitch
what? I didn't even put in here because the cycle was, and I think it's been hidden pretty hard in the mainstream media, but was the poll thing.
Oh, yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about that last week. It was right after.
We did one of those. It helps.
We did also,
But it's gone now. Did you delete it?
No.
I think they just,
They buried it.
yeah, they just got rid of it.
they may have
Because I'm
just
still
burned
seeing a
all
lot
of
of that stuff, but ours is gone.
Well, it really helped our numbers the one day. And also, like, I hooked it in with the old Barbie Dreamhouse stuff we were doing, and the algorithm is like, I don't know what to think.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Well, back to Google. So Google, definitely the horizon for Google does not look very bright because their whole business model is suddenly threatened by people getting more privacy oriented.
And
Yeah, that's not the only major threat that they're going to face in the coming year. This one might be worse.
Google workers to form Global Union Alliance. This is Reuters. The really amazing thing here is that the people that are actual employees of Google are trying to be bros and bring up the people that are working for like the, global Google contractor that doesn't have the same benefit structure. Like they're dangling a little bit of a carrot there for those people that don't actually work for Google, but they kind of work for Google. And the people that work at Google are basically saying, yeah, I'd be willing to take less benefits if we all had the same benefits or a similar structure. And Google management is like, no.
Panic.
Now, here's my question about this. How big is the team at Apple that is working right now around the clock to get this to be a medical expense? Because imagine how much money that's going to be.
The Apple Watch Series 7 will reportedly feature blood glucose monitoring via an optical sensor, according to the E-Time. So this is Watch Series 7. So it's gonna monitor your blood oxygenation. It currently does that, I think.
Yeah.
And your heart rate and some other things. Supposedly, they've got so much data, they can tell when you're infected with something even before you show symptoms because they can read the physiological response.
That was the pandemic thing.
Yep.
And the amazing thing about this is it is non-invasive. There doesn't have to be any blood contact or any sort of implant or anything like that. It's just the skin. Somehow they've figured out.
How does that work, though? I've never heard of a blood sugar test that didn't require a drop of blood.
Yeah, no one has. So I think people will flock to it. I mean, there's a lot of diabetic people in the U.S. for sure.
Yeah.
And if your insurance would pay for a smartwatch,
Yeah. It's almost every week now that I read a story about somebody that had an Apple Watch and like something just horrific happened to them, and if it weren't for their Apple smartwatch, they would have died.
calls the paramedics or whatever.
Yeah, like somebody's like, I'm walking along the road and they get hit by a car and it throws them off the side of the road like into a ditch, such that like oncoming cars won't see you, and like the Apple Watch is like, I'm just gonna go ahead and call for help, and those people would have just turned up dead otherwise.
What if you're just, you're lying broken in a ditch and you're too far gone and you're like, Siri, let me die.
Siri, I've got a DNR. What are you doing?
I'm sorry, I don't understand. Would you like to listen to some music? And you're like, elevator music.
I'd like to listen to some music while we wait for your ambulance to arrive.
Well, companies, I think, although Microsoft, I think they did fine last year, but it definitely seems like with the hiring and firing, or mostly just firing, and selling real estate and stuff like that, everybody who put everything on hold for 2020 is now rushing forward with their new plans to try and make money somehow. And this one was especially tone deaf.
Microsoft was trying to pull something with its Insta-Killed Xbox Live Gold price hike. So Microsoft announced, "Oh, we're gonna raise the price on Xbox Live Gold. We got some quarterly plans," and everybody was like, "WTF are you doing?" They're like, "Oh, our bad." 14 hours later,
Not just raise it, double it.
Yeah.
The annual cost went from 60 to 120. Now, a lot of people had the idea, they were like, "Oh, you know what? They were probably just seeing how the market would react to this. This was probably a trial balloon. And they weren't really planning to do this, but they printed new cards for in-store. So I think they were really wanting to do this.
they were really wanting to do this, yeah.
You think they were at all affected by the fear that's like, oh God, what if they start shorting our stock?
That would be amazing. You get a company. Oh man, actually, you were joking about AT&T earlier, but like WallStreetBets turning on to the terrible awfulness that is AT&T, hoping to create a vacuum that small business can rush in to fill as an ISP. That could be the next WallStreetBets.
Oh, you just described Herbalife. Yeah, they do that. It's called activist investing when they do it. You know what they call it when the retail investor does it? Yeah, so
It's funny how that works.
that's disgusting. You guys remember NYAA?
Yes.
NYAA is a anime trading torrent type of thing, but you don't have to use it for piracy. I mean, you could with a couple of clicks. It's real easy, but you don't have to, and that's critical.
GitHub restores NYAA repository as it isn't clearly, quote-unquote, pre-configured to infringe. So GitHub took it down, and they reached out to the developers. The thing here, though, is the developers did not immediately respond. GitHub looked it over, and they said, wait a minute. Yeah,
Oh,
Boiler Snake loves anime,
he does.
I was going to say he's a big weeb.
and he steals a lot of it. I don't want to throw him out there like that, but he's proud of it.
So GitHub looked it over, and they restored the repository after determining that it's not pre-configured to infringe. It's just software.
Now, what about, was it Cody that sold the box, the
Yes.
set-top box? Wasn't it almost the same thing, and they went the other way on them?
No, it wasn't Kodi. It was we thought Kodi was next. There was something other than Kodi that was pre-configured, and it was pre-configured with links to places where you could pirate content,
But
and it lost.
I think the OEM was not pre-configured. People were getting it, configuring it, and reselling it.
I don't know. Chad will have to remind us on that, because I thought that anytime you made it easy to find pirated material, that you lost. But if it was just a media box, you won.
And then there were those people with those Fire Sticks
Yeah.
who, like, Fire Stick's fine, but they put software on it.
Yeah, they were in
Shut
trouble.
them down.
Yeah. But those, the flea market, like in the comments on that story, some of those were hilarious, because they're like, oh yeah, no, straight up at the local flea market, it's like free HBO. And it's like, you haven't been able to advertise free HBO since like the 70s.
What if I gave you the device and then, unrelated to that purchase, a piece of paper with a bunch of URLs printed on it?
You just had a stack of poorly Xerox leaflets. They've already got warning flags for people with poorly Xerox leaflets.
Yeah,
So
I think they'd probably go ahead and shut that down. So. Well, the good news for those of you who are looking for employment in the Texas area, possibly. Oh, no, wait. Arizona. No, this is
Texas.
TSMC is in Arizona.
yeah.
So these guys want to go to Texas.
Samsung is said to be considering a $10 billion expansion of their fab. Now, I think this is pretty likely to happen. One, because the pressure on all the fabs everywhere, not just Samsung, TSMC too, and Intel, and literally, we are making silicon microchips faster than we ever have. Between emerging markets and the fact that all of our global manufacturing infrastructure has basically collapsed due to the global situation, we need more advanced semiconductors more than ever. So I think this is probably going to happen.
Now, I don't know. This is our last story, and this is definitely my favorite story of the week. I don't know how this works exactly. I don't know if these have to be unique to the individual. If they don't, if this is kind of like a universal thing, and you live in Taiwan and you can get these, I want a pair.
And do I.
And you need to contact us, and we will get you. Not only will we pay for these, but we'll send you some cool swag. Because it seems too good to be true.
In before we're trolled and we have permanent eye damage.
It's just a couple. They send us just a couple of laser pointers mounted in cheap sunglasses.
That's like, be sure to stare into these from now on. Yeah.
Now, do you think this is powered? somehow?
It looks like it is because I
don't
can see terminals
Oh
and
yeah,
stuff
they're
on
pretty
it.
bulky. Yeah.
I don't understand anything about this.
Myopia correcting smart glasses from Japan to be sold in Asia. So basically, if you're nearsighted, which I am and you are too, I think.
All of us are.
Yeah, you can. This will correct it somehow.
And I don't know how, but they say after 60 to 90 minutes
A day for a period of time.
But I think it's not like after that 60 to 90 minutes, you've got a cool down time where
Yep.
you're fine. And then over time, they're saying it will permanently reverse the nearsightedness.
yeah.
It makes no sense.
It doesn't make sense. I wonder too, what is the limit? How nearsighted can you be? Because I'm a -7, so I'm severely nearsighted. Would this work for me, or is this only for people who are like little bitches at like -2, -3?
Krista, those are the kinds of questions that Nikkei Asia just did not
They
answer.
did not answer in this article. Yeah,
But
I want to know.
here's some crazy statistics. Do you guys know this? 96% of South Koreans have nearsightedness.
I didn't know it was that high.
Yeah,
That's insane.
It was really, really high.
How much, what kind of, let's see, when was this published? This came out on the 23rd. On the 24th, how many people had to attend the mandatory meeting at Luxottica?
The entire company. Oh man, I think I found the new WallStreetBets thing.
But do we short them or do we go long? You don't know in this market.
It's just gambling.
Wow, that would be a crazy thing, though, to be able to get that. And then, you know what's going to be weird about that? Like, let's say that works exactly how they say it is. What happens with the driver's licenses?
Oh, well, you probably just get retested. Like you just go in. If you had an optometrist that was like, yeah, they don't need glasses anymore. That's all you need.
So now we just need to
They
find
make
it.
a note on your license though, so you'd have to have your license updated all the time.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that would not be efficient. At least not here. I don't know how it works in other countries.
Well, no,
but-
if you got it permanently fixed, then you just need one letter from an optometrist. They don't recheck.
Are these permanent fixes though?
Not its first. So you could do 60 minutes, and then presumably you could go out and go about your day. And then it would wear off eventually. So if you're driving during that cool down time, you're not permanently cured.
Yeah.
But if you were
weird.
wearing your glasses, it would be a much worse situation, right? I have
Yeah.
to assume that correcting the reflection after it's already been corrected is going to be bad.
Yeah. It's that weird headache you get from a new pair of glasses.
The other day, I made a mistake, and I was like, my eyes are getting worse. Something bad is happening. I put my contacts in. It's like I couldn't see. I was like, it's still blurry. I put my husband's contacts in by accident, and I freaked out thinking I was going blind.
So yeah, I'm really excited about this. I hope this becomes a thing, but it seems too good to be true. So I don't know. Also, what about when you're cooling down from your 90 minutes and then you can't see with or without your glasses?
Oh, it's like the
Then
puff
you just
machine.
go take a nap. Yeah.
The puff machine?
Yeah, you know when you go to the optometrist and they do
Oh, they blast you in the
Oh,
air.
yeah, and then you get the alien eyes for a little while.
Well, that's from the
Yeah, it dilates
the
your,
dilating drops.
pupils.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have, I mean, that's a byproduct of the puff. Anyway, I
Well,
want
we'll
to
see you Friday with lots of nonsense, everybody.
Look how cool this guy is.
Wow, it's just wacky.
Yep.
Krista.
Bye.